A bumper weekend this week for the Weekend Watch to tackle Daryl Carter, Andrew Mount, and myself, of course. We had a good weekend last weekend. I think we all helped a little bit, but definitely Daryl was star of the week. We had Tashkhan for Daryl, Came from the Dark, Makram, oh yeah, they all won. Magical Morning won for me. Lethally Lovely for Andrew. So we had lots of horses winning and running well last week, which is great. So hopefully more of the same this weekend. We start at Newmarket for the 205. I really liked Spirit of Bermuda in there. I actually thought she would be shorter. She's a little bit of a monkey, isn't she? They have issues with her at the start. She has refused to race in the past, but she looked really straightforward last time. So hopefully that's ironed out now. And I thought it was really impressive when we saw her last time. And she was well behaved and won well. So like the look of her. Andrew, do you want to start?
Yeah, this is a super tricky one to start off for the week. Some interesting stats with this, sort of pros and cons for Spirit Bermuda. I think the last 10 winners were all priced at 8-1 or shorter, so the market tends to hone in on the winner. Spirit Bermuda 8-1 with the bookie whose prices I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But last time out, winners haven't got the greatest record. Only one of the last 10 winners had won on its most recent start. And a lot of the winners of this race were cutting back in trip. 4 of the last 5 cutting back from a mile. 3 of those ran in the Sandringham at Royal Ascot. So that's certainly a positive for Samoot, the 7-2 favourite, who was second in the Sandringham, of course, last time out. King Mania's second in. She's bidding for a 4-timer. You know, she's on an upward curve and would certainly look progressive. Her RPRs have been increasing nicely. Spirit Bermuda, I wasn't sure about the form of that Leicester race. I mean, looking at this race, I thought, well, she's going to be the pace angle, so that's certainly going to help at Newmarket. Yeah. But you look at the horses who finished behind her at Leicester, they haven't done a great deal since. You could argue she won so impressively, though it was, just a case of she could only beat what was put in front of her. Professional Widow of the bigger prices was half interesting as well. Another one who ran in the Sandringham, and Richard Spencer has won this race before. She'd have a squeak. And Star of Emaraaty at a very big price. Used to be with Kevin Ryan, not done a lot for the Gosdens this season, but was drawn on the wrong side when well beaten in the Sandringham last time. You can draw a line through that. She's 25-1. So of those that had in the market, King Mania, but I'll say my pick's going to be Star of Emaraaty just to build on that Sandringham effort.
Okay, yeah, big price, Star of Emaraaty then. So Star of Emaraaty for me, for Andrew, sorry. Spirit of Bermuda for me, and Daryl.
Nap in here. Samoot is a good thing off a mark of 89, yeah. The ground was completely against her at Ascot. I really fancied her in the Sandringham. She come from a good way back. She got no cover for much of the race. Jim Crowley didn't give her a very good ride, to be honest with you. They finished completely strung out. I don't think the mile was the issue. I think it was the ground that she was unable to quicken on the ground. But I've got a good feeling that she bumped into a very good horse of Johnny Murtagh's in Creative Belief in the Sandringham there. The time before at Wolverhampton, nothing went her way at all. She was forced out wide. That track doesn't really suit her. And she was just given a very easy time. The emphasis on the fact that the track didn't suit, she did win at Wolverhampton in a novice race, but she was so awkward around the bend. It was a credit to her that she managed to win. In between those 2 runs, she went to Salisbury. She absolutely bolted up, beating Rosemary in time. And that horse has recently come out and chased down Aurea at Sandown last week. And she's actually rated higher than Samoot. You go back to her maiden runs at Sandown last year. She chased down Creative, Flair, and Statement. Obviously, Statement's been a bit of a disappointment since, but Creative Flair's done nothing but improve. And she was slowly away that day and was doing all her best work at the finish over 7. I think a stiff 7 at Newmarket is fine. I wouldn't even mind a mile, but a stiff 7 at Newmarket's fine. Back on quicker ground. If she can't win off a mark of 89 in this race, I'd give up with her, but I think she's a good thing here. Around 3-1, is she? Yeah, something like that. I would just say that I think the danger is probably Nebulosa for Andrew Boulding. I'm not entirely sure the drop back and trip is going to suit this horse, but forgive the run last time, Haydock on heavy ground. That was just too bad to be true that day. Looked really progressive before that, but she's going to have to go some to beat Samoot here, who's going to absolutely bolt up.
Okay, you heard it here first. That's our first race then at Newmarket. We move on to the second there, which is the 240. That's another Class 2 contest, and we've got the unexposed Royal Fleet in here, haven't we? Who could be absolutely anything. I thought Qaader ran really well in the Britannia. Wasn't beaten very far. And some of that horse's back form wasn't beaten very far by Fundamental, who's now rated 106 or 108 or something like that. So quite like Qaader, especially at the prices, but a small field makes it a little bit more difficult. Daryl, do you want to start?
Yeah, I did like Royal Fleet for this earlier in the week when it was a bit of a bigger price. I mean, I'm not going to be taking 6-4 about anything, I don't think, at the moment. But it was quite impressive at Kempton on debut, the way he picked up the runaway leader, Il Azim. I thought that was quite eye-catching for a debut run. He's had a break since then, returned in April at Yarmouth, won by 2 lengths, beating Sunrise Valley. It just takes a little while to warm up. I definitely think he's going to get further in the future. I just wonder if something might have a bit too much speed for him at a crucial stage on a track like this, an undulating track where he might just need every single yard of this trip. I'm not going to have a bet in the race, but I wouldn't be running scared of Royal Fleet. But at the same time, I could also see why he's at the top of the market. So I'm finding it a little bit tricky. I couldn't really find anything to take him on with. I don't think anything else is too well handicapped, to be honest, in here. You would expect Royal Fleet to take a step forward, so he'd be the selection, but probably a no-bet race.
Okay. Andrew?
Yeah, tricky one. I was quite taken with the manner of Cahill's Chelmsford win, and that certainly worked out pretty well. The third's won since, the second and fourth place next time out. But I'm with you on Qaader here for Mark Johnson. Did third best of the far side group in the Britannia when drawn low. The winner obviously down the near side from a high draw. Mark Johnson's handicappers do really well on the July course. You could back them blind and make a very big profit over the years. So at the prices, I just have to side with that one. But it's a real tricky race. So I can understand why Daryl's trying to sit it out.
Qaader then for us too, and Daryl likes the favourite there. The 315, the Superlative Stakes. We've got last year's winning trainer in here. Charlie Appleby's got a couple. He's got 2 of the 9 currently. Interesting race, this 315. Andrew, do you want to start?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, DeBarb, I think, heads the market, having finished 6th in the Coventry, went favourite. Really impressive winning from off the pace at Leicester on his debut. Not easy to do on the straight track there. Leicester winners up to 7 furlongs generally race up with the pace. So you'd certainly upgrade that Coventry 6, given that he raced down the middle of the track when the winner was down the near side. But you look at the last 5 winners of this race won their most recent start, and 4 of those 5 had only had the 1 run before. I think the last time Charlie Appleby's run, well, I said 4 times I think he's run a horse in this race has only had the 1 start. 3 of those have won. And I keep coming back to Native Trail here, given the trainer's record in the race. Hugely impressive at Sandown, bolting up by 4 lengths when odds on for his debut. I thought he could take a step forward here against the Gosden runner.
Okay. Daryl?
I thought Native Trail was visually impressive. But he was the second, 4 lengths slower than the Division 1 race and 12 lengths slower than the handicap winner off a mark of 75, who carried £2 more. And just put a different slant on the view of the race for me. Now, that may not have been his fault, but he was well positioned in that race. So, I don't know. I quite like Austrian Theory for Mark Johnson. I really like the debut run, beating Private Signal. Private Signal obviously went out and boosted that form next time. Just travelled through the race really kindly, and he's got quite a turn of foot, this horse. He hung to his left under a bit of pressure, but it was all hands and heels from Joe Fanning until the final 50 yards, and he gave him a couple of little taps, and he was tough to pull up as well afterwards. I quite like that. I think I don't know. There's not really much to back my selection up with him, really. It's just sort of a gut feeling. I just thought that the likes of Great Max and Dalhab would probably be seen to best effect over further in time. Whereas I thought this lad was quite speedy, and I thought he might just have a little bit too much of a turn of foot for some of these. I'm a fan of Great Max, but like I say, he's been outpaced twice now, and he wants a mile already. Dahab definitely is the one to beat, no doubt about it. 9-4 about him is not for me though. So 10-1 for Austrian Theory will do.
So just going back to Dabab there, because two other poorly drawn runners from the Coventry, Eldrick Jones and Ebro River, due to run in about 10 minutes' time in the 225 at Newmarket on Thursday. Yeah. So if that pair run well, that will be another pointer to the chance of the favourite in this.
Okay. I have a similar view to you, Daryl, actually. I thought Papa Cocktail would be one to have a look at a kind of a big each way price. I like that, the way this horse battled at Haydock. I remember watching that win. It was middle of June, I think. And the race that horse finished third in at Yarmouth on debut, I thought was a really good. Sometimes they have some really strong maidens there, don't they? And that horse Reach for the Moon finished second then at Ascot. So I didn't think that was a bad piece of form. I just thought perhaps if Papa Cocktail was perhaps trained by a bigger trainer or, more kind of prolific, and that one would have been a bit shorter. So probably Papa Cocktail for me if I were to have a bet. Austrian Theory for Daryl and Native Trail for Andrew. So really helping you there. 3 different opinions. I'm sure there'll be plenty of opinions about the next one as well, because it's the Bunbury Cup, isn't it? A race that I absolutely love, but rock solid to find winners of. We've got last year's winning horse in here if you want to just follow that at the moment. Matakayal goes in here, and that's at 425. 350, sorry. Looking forward to the Bunbury Cup. Giles, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm always trying to find something that's quite well handicapped in terms of £5 to £10 well in. I couldn't really find anything in here, to be honest. They're all at the top of their sort of ceilings. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a blanket finish. The one I'd consider taking a chance on is Tadleel at a big price. Bounced back to form last time, red card behind Johan Cruyff. The third has come out and won. Young Fire, he runs over at York. I think he's got a good chance over there off a mark of 100. He's had 2 poor runs, both either side of a break, both easily excusable, I feel. And he's got some bits and pieces of form, notably on the all-weather though, granted, but that make him look quite well handicapped. And I just got the feeling that red car last time, he finished with a bit of running left after being slowly away with the blindfold coming off late. It was a performance that just said that we've not got to the bottom of this horse just yet. And I thought he was one of the more obvious, well, not obviously, but I thought he was off a light weight, a bit more well treated than a lot of others. He could easily have another £5 to £10 in hand. Whereas when I'm looking at the top of the markets in here, and I'm looking at like Antimis, Jamara Bay, Fundamental off marks of 95s, 100, I don't know. I don't really like the race, to be honest. I did midweek when there was 165,000 entries, but it's not really a betting race. Tadleel was a big price. He's definitely going to run well here, I think, though. He'll probably grab some each-way money.
Yeah, I think he's the outsider of the field, that entire field at the moment. So if you look what some bookmakers might have on offer as well, you can take the lesser prices for more places. But outside of the field, and there's a previous course and distance runner, Tadleel. Andrew?
Yeah, cracking race this. I bet 3 horses this morning. One of those was Tadleel at 50 to 1. Richard Fahey's got a great record in this race. 4 winners from 21 plus £29. 6 of the beaten horses placed, and another 2 finished 5th, 14 to 1, and 6th at 40 to 1. With some bookies offering sort of 5 and 6 places on some of these races, that might be the downside with Tadleel is it is drawn in stall 5, and in the last 10 years, 8 of the winners have drawn 10 or higher, from an expected number of winners of only 4 or thereabouts. So generally, I mean, you could just back any horse pretty much drawn 10 or higher and make a profit in this race over the years. Only a small profit at SP, but that still suggests that you want to be drawn high. Of the Farheath trio he's got in this, he's got Gabriel the Wire in 12 and National League in stall 20. Now, that's the one that I've bet as well. Was well clear of the third when a narrow second at York last time out, was racing from out the handicap, so he's well drawn. National League, Tadleel, who incidentally has had 2 runs over course and distance, first and second by a nose. So that's quite something as well, about a 50 to 1 shot. And the other one I like for Richard Hughes. This one's had 3 goes this year, winning at Kempton on the all-weather and running 2 shockers at Ascot. Clearly doesn't like the track there. And if you take his record away from Ascot, He's never been out of the first 4 in 10 starts, winning on 3 occasions. And he's a big price, around about 33-1. Caravana for Richard Hughes, stable in form and well drawn.
Okay, yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? But I assume you would try and take a couple in there, and I hope that 1 or 2 either win or place. The feature race at Newmarket is the Group 1 contest. It's a July Cup. That's at 4:25. We've got Oxted in there, of course. Roger Teal's Stable Star, who we've seen to good effect at the track. But we've got loads of horses in here you could make good cases for, who've been obviously all placing on recent starts in good races. Horses who are progressing up the handicap. Obviously, we've got Dragon Symbol, who was unlucky last time and, of course, lost the race in the Stewards. Do you want to start in the July Cup, Andrew?
Yeah, sure thing. Like you say, you look at the head of the market and you go down and you think, could I imagine this horse winning? Oxted, yes. Starman, yes. Dragon Symbol, yes. Rohan, yes. Creative Force. And so I've basically fired off a couple of arrows at big price ones, which I tend to do in this race. Went close with Tropics several years ago, who was beaten a nose and sort of went back from 66s into 25. Now, there's 2 interesting ones for me. One of those is Chill for Andrew Balding. She seems to have a very sort of specific set of conditions. She needs a straight track, useless going around a bend. I think she did win at Kempton once, but she was running in a handicap off a mark of 63, which shows you how well she was in, and well in she was. Now, when she's had good or faster going, or the all-weather, running on straight tracks, 6 runs, 5 wins, and a next second. So she's got her ideal conditions. She's 20-25-1. And the other one was Garrus, who's 66-1 in a place. He's acquitted himself well behind Dream of Dreams the last twice on soft ground he hates, finishing 2nd and then finishing 5th at Royal Ascot. Now, you look at his record on Good to Firm or on to Peter. 8 runs, 5 wins, and a second from those 8 starts. So Chill and Garrus in a race that often throws up a sort of big price horse in the frame or the occasional shock. Wouldn't be surprised if that pair ran good races in what is a very obviously open and competitive contest.
Yeah, it certainly is. As Sandra said, they're about at the moment 20s and 80s, I think, huge prices. So do check those 2 out, Daryl.
That's a good shout with Gareth, I reckon. I thought Chill was a little bit overpriced earlier in the week, but a lot of people are just going to say that I'm going to just stick with Creative Force because I followed him the last 4 times, but that's not the case. I was quite surprised by Oxted at Ascot winning over 5, but the form of that race, I mean, they went so hard up front. It's hard to take that form literally, I feel, personally. But his form prior to that ties in with Starman. And then you look at Dragon Symbol and Starman's form with King's Lynn and Nahar, and they're all very, very good horses. There's not a standout candidate for me amongst those type of horses because their form interlocks in so many different places, and that ties in with Rohan as well. So I just thought Creative Force is a completely different form line to what a lot of other these horses have been, the type of race they've been running in. I thought the soft ground at Ascot in the Jersey was definitely against him. I think he's better than that, and I think coming back to 6 is a very good move at this track. I think the faster ground will see him to best effect. He's got such a slow swing and action. He was so impressive at Newmarket when beating Perotto. Obviously, that form has been franked. So impressive when beaten significantly. That form's been franked. Rohan couldn't get nowhere near him at Newmarket in April. And with that form line tying in the rest of these, I just think he's a top class horse. I really do. And I think he is a big price at 13-2 for me. Given there's a lot of horses that all tie in together and probably not stand out as of yet, whereas he has looked top notch. So Creative Force to go one better and rack up the 5-timer.
Okay, that's it for the scheduled races at Newmarket. Is there anything that either of you like in any of the other races that we haven't covered?
No, not for me at Newmarket.
No, not for me.
Perfect. We go to Ascot, then we've got that Summer Mile at 3 o'clock. Obviously, a lot softer ground conditions at Ascot, and another race that's obviously very hard to work out. Andrew, have we got any real stats that point us towards a specific one or two?
Yeah, just back the favourite. The last 8 of them have won. There you go. So, although it might not be easy to determine who's going to go off favourite, because there's they bet round 4 here. Busker, Tilsit, Top Rank, and Century Dream. I mean, Century Dream beat Top Rank in a listed contest at Windsor last time out. I think both have got good chances here. Century Dream tends to do best in smallish fields. 10 runners probably ran about his cut-off point, which he's got here. And Top Rank, he was placed behind Palace Pier in the lock-in, Group 1, of course. And then he ran in the Queen Anne. He finished 6th, but he had the worst of the draw installed, 1 of 12 that day. I thought that 6th place was a effort. And, ground-wise, he'll be better on this softer surface, I think. Certainly won't be inconvenienced by it. Same can be said for Century Dream. So I was sort of, toss a coin between Top Rank and Century Dream, really. Busker I like, but he's the kind of horse you want to be backing each way at a big price when he gets pulled into the race late off a very strong pace, rather than sort of backing him when he's favourite or near enough favourite. So, split stakes, Top Rank, Century Dream.
Yeah, I think he is currently just about the favourite at the time of recording this. Busker and Daryl?
Yeah, I was torn between 2, Busker and Tilsit. I think the ground might have gone against Tilsit if it's going to be soft on Saturday. Don't think that'd be an issue for Busker, to be honest with you. He was 4 for 14 in the QE2, just behind Palace Pier when the Revenant won in 2020. I think this is an opportunity for him to really get his head in front now. He's been operating at a high level, and this is one of those races again. We see him quite often. We've seen him quite often this season where these horses are not good enough to run in Group 1 company. They're Group 2, Group 3 horses. Nothing for me is improving in this field. I couldn't continue to make excuses for Top Rank. I think he's had plenty of opportunities now. I just think he is at a level, and that's where he's at. Tilsit, like I said, the ground. Century Dream, he needs optimal conditions at certain tracks to see him at his best. Whether this is going to be it, I'm not entirely sure. Regal Reality, Happy Pal, I mean, they're much of a muchness. I think this is a great opportunity for Busker. He should be getting his head in front of this.
Okay. The other race Ascot is the 335, another really big field handicap, and significantly was the only horse in single figures. I'll check that statement again now. But another really difficult race to weigh up. We'll get you to start this time, please, Daryl.
I have no idea who's going to win this race. I have no idea. I've wasted so well. I haven't wasted that much energy on it because it's just not a race that I have a bet in. Like we said before, it's a lottery race. So I'm going to use my get out of jail free card here and sit this one out.
Andrew?
Yeah, good race this. I mean, significantly had a reputation for being a bit of a twicer, finishing second on a number of occasions.
You're going to say something else then. Bit of a tour.
Did win over course and distance on heavy ground last time, despite still looking less than straightforward. Yeah. Should be there or thereabouts, but I prefer a horse called Mackinac for Julie Camacho. This one is wearing cheek pieces for the first time and ran at York last time in a good race won by Pendleton. The first typical York sprint, the pace held up. First 3 described as chase leaders, disputed lead. Mackinac in 4th. Did much the best of those to come from off the pace. Spoof was 6th at 40 to 1 that day. Again, ridden patiently. That one's come out and won since. Yeah. So, in terms of, upgrading that run, you certainly could. If the cheek pieces bring about a bit of improvement, that's going to help. He handles the ground. He's by Masons. That's no problem. Masons, as a general rule, respond well to first-time headgear. So, Mackinac for me. And there's another couple in the same race, Count D'Orsay, who was a bit outclassed at Ascot last time behind, came from the dark in Arecibo, and Mulzim as well. So, Mackinac, but don't rule out Count D'Orsay and Mulzim either.
Yeah, the Mulzim about 18 to 1. I've got Count D'Orsay about 25, so all big prices. And Mackinac's a double figure price at the moment as well, so loads of value there. Well, if he's right, it's loads of value. Anything else at Ascot for you, Andrew?
Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, I was just trying to watch the end of that 225. Or the 445, of course. Dushan, your nap from last week, who didn't go in the stalls at Haydock, and a big eye catcher around the outside at Musselburgh when the track was typically favouring prominent racers who got near the rail. So won against the bias last time. And assuming he goes in the traps this time, Dushan could be hard to beat in that 445.
Daryl?
Yeah, 225, Ispahan. This is a bit of a monkey, this horse. He needs to be delivered late. Last time at Goodwood, I don't really think he handled the downhill finish at that track. He's well worth another chance on the back of his Brighton romp. He's off a mark of 85. He's only £5 higher. He's an improving 4-year-old in the field. He's got lots of form at times with Z-Band, who won for us last week at Newcastle. I think he ought to go well in that race. Obviously price dependent, these are. The 410, Achelois is a horse that I tried to back last time but was pulled out, I think, because of the ground. This horse is definitely well handicapped off a mark of 80. At Sandown last time, ran up behind a horse called Hoodwinker, had to drop behind about 6 or 7 horses, pull wide, and then make a challenge. Sprinted all the way to the finish, just didn't get there in time. Has some form with Samoot as well, and some nice form as a maiden. She ought to go well off a mark of 80 in the 410.
Okay, on to York we go, the final race meeting that we bring in for this afternoon. And we've got a wide open race, the Class 2, that comes up at 1:45. That is their first race. And we've got, I think, just about Agile at the top of the betting, but very tight. Another race that's really difficult to kind of find as regards to betting as well. I don't think there's been looking down any massive market moves to point us in that direction. Daryl, did you find anything in there that you liked?
I did find something that, I mean, I don't know if I like, but I thought there was one that was really overpriced, and I thought that was Ebury. I think the outsider of the field. You got to be a little bit forgiving with this horse, but wasn't too bad at Doncaster behind Stunning Beauty. Finished 5th there in a good race. Time before that on seasonal reappearance here at York, over 7 on soft ground. Looked like he wanted to go up and trip back up to a mile. Actually finished ahead of Agile, who's the market leader in this race, when behind Volatile Analyst. I just thought he wanted a little bit. I just thought he wanted a trip, go back up to a mile. I thought the 7 was completely against him. I think they did that because it was a seasonal return and they're just trying to get him to see out his race. But had 2 really tough races last time, Doncaster, and last time out of Salisbury behind Johan in a really, really hot competitive race. This is much weaker on paper, and he's 50 to 1. Yet he's finished in front of Agile. Now Agile's entitled to improve for the reappearance run.
Yeah. But
this Ebury has got some nice bits and pieces of form. He's very well handicapped off a mark of 84 if putting it all together. So soft ground up to a mile. The first time he's had the combination since finishing second over at the Rowley Mile, ahead of the likes of Uzo, Hortzadar, Battered, Sawaya, Alfred Boucher, some decent horses. Not been with this yard long. 50 to 1. I think you can take a chance.
Okay, yeah, huge price outside of the field currently. Andrew?
Tricky one. David O'Mara's won this 3 times in recent years, so it might be worth giving his horses, more than a second look. Young Fire is the obvious one, who won well on soft ground at Haydock last time. And Safran, although finishing last of 7 at Redcar on his stable debut, he was 28 to 1. He probably would have needed that his first start since leaving France. And if they let him take his chance on the softer going, then maybe Safran can run a race. But the one I'll side with, though, is Broken Spear for the Tony Coyle yard. This is a real York expert. Got some great form here over 5 furlongs to 7 furlongs over the years. Never raced over a mile, but looking at some of those 7 furlong efforts, the way he's been finishing off his races, at his age now, he might be, he might be a bit more about stamina. He might be able to see out the trip. So, given he's 22 to 1, he's got plenty of course form. Maybe Broken Spear each way could be the way to go, but
Yeah, it is. The next race at York is the 220 Group 3 contest, long distance, and we've got Hukum currently at the top of the betting, who's got a tongue tie on for the first time. So we'll see what difference that makes for Jim Crowley and Owen Burrows. Do we think Hukum should be this short at the top of the betting, Andrew?
I think he's got a solid enough chance after that Group 2 placed effort on soft ground at Royal Ascot. That was in the Hardwick Stakes, of course. He's coming down a notch to Group 3 company. He was a winner on soft ground at Goodwood the time before. If the headgear does eke out a bit of improvement, then he's got every right to head the market, I guess. But like you say, whether 5-2 is the right price or not remains to be seen. I thought this is perhaps more a sort of 7-2 the field race. Roberto Escobar was sort of half interesting, having done too much too soon I did too much too soon in one of his races last year. I think it was his final start, wasn't it, at York, August. He's come back, ran as though his reappearance effort were needed. That was his first run since wind surgery, and then he's won here last time out in listed company. That was on good to firm going though, so soft ground would be a concern, and he is sort of weak in the betting 7s out to 10s, so perhaps the ground is the concern. I'll go for Hukum, but I'm not on a bet in the race and probably wouldn't be tempted by 5-2.
Okay, Daryl?
Yeah, I thought Hukum was quite solid at the top of the market. I thought that 3-length defeat to Wonderful Tonight last time was a good piece of form in the context of this race. I thought the step back up in trip was definitely in his favour. He just gets a little bit outpaced over that 1.5 miles, going back up to 1.6 miles now, where he was a good fifth in the St Ledger last year in a race that's worked out remarkably well. I couldn't really have Fujara Prince returning from 266 day layoff, but is at a point now where he's sort of forced into this sort of company. I'm not entirely sure he's good enough. Ilarab needs to bounce back. It's the first time he's put in a poor performance. Ascot sort of needs to bounce back now. Maybe coming back here to York, we'll see a different horse, but you couldn't be trusting him now. He's put in a poor effort. Roberto Escobar, I thought they said that he improved because of the ground, because he wants quicker ground last time. So I was assuming that was the reason for his Ascot flop. He probably won't like the ground here. The other one that's interesting, or the other only two horses I'm quite interested in, are Quickthorn and Luganini. Now, I don't know why they want to step Quickthorn up to 1.6 miles. I actually don't like it when they step horses up to this sort of distance. Flat racing is all about speed, isn't it? And as soon as you're going up to 1.6 miles, you're almost sort of saying, we don't think he's that quick or whatever. I think 1.5 miles for him is perfect, just because it was heavy ground last time. I don't know. But he needs to prove himself at this level now is what I'm trying to get at. And the other one is Luganini, who handles the ground really well. He could have loads more to come up, stepping up to this sort of trip. But the proven horse in the field, who is probably a fair enough price, is Hukum. So I wouldn't like to be taking him on. His current price at around 9-4, I think that's more than fair. I thought he should have been a shorter price than that.
Okay, fair enough. We skip a couple to the 4A5 at York then. Another rock solid race. John Smith's Cup Handicap Class 2. Currently, I think 24 runners going there. Huge field. So, of course, I thought I'd nap in the race just to make things difficult. So, Dark Pine is my fancy in there. Horse who I really like. I've put Dark Pine up a few times on different outlets. I don't think stayed the 1.5 miles when trying it last time, especially on that heavy ground. Looked really good the time before when coming from so far back at Chester. 1.25 miles is perfect. Cameron Noble takes off at useful £3 as well. So like Dark Pine, the price as well. I think about 20-1. I hope we'll be okay. I think last time out, a combination of the heavy and 1.5 miles was just too much for him. So fingers crossed anyway, because it's the man up and it's a big prize. Daryl, do you want to start?
Loads of horses in here that you like, and you end up building relationships over a course of a season with. It's finding the ones that are the best handicapped, isn't it? And finding everything in their favour. Surrey Pride is probably one of the better handicapped horses in the race. Just all 24 though is it's no gift, is it? I definitely think this horse has got more to come. Appreciates a bit of cut in the ground as well. He's a nice horse, and his York run last time has worked out quite well. So you've had Macram, Piv 1 and Chichester all come out and win. I think he is one of the more interesting runners, depending on what happens for this draw. Astro King is rightfully at top of the market. There's a slight question mark about whether this horse is going to stay the trip. He's had a couple of goes at this 1.25 miles. He hasn't really seen it out, but he has been running lately. At Thirst, he ran on really strongly over that mile there, stiff mile. At Ascot, stiff mile, he's run on really strongly. I think I think they're definitely well worth another crack at this sort of trip. He can win a race off a mark at 98, that's for sure. He just bumped into that real world at Ascot, who looks a group horse all over. So I thought he was the right market leader. There was one that interested me at massive price, but he's a reserve, Spirit Dancer for Richard Fahey. He likes soft ground. He's put in a couple of poor performances, but he's definitely well handicapped off a mark of 90 under a £5 penalty. He's got a lot more to come, I think. He's very lightly raced. He's got some form that ties in with Ilarab over this trip at York on soft ground. So he's definitely got more to come. If he gets in the race, I'd be quite interested in Spirit Dancer at 33-1. But I would happily side with Astro King at the top of the market here. The draw's fine. The ground should be fine. Trip should be fine.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, cracking race this. Surrey Pride is a horse I've got a lot of time for. His trainers reckons he's going to win a big race one day. I just wonder if he doesn't like extremes of going. You sort of chuck out his runs on sort of, good to firm and heavy. He's 4 from 4 on sort of good to soft ground. I think they're calling it good to soft in places at York. If the rain stays away, it might be okay for Surrey Pride. Is round about 14s. I like the case you make for Dark Pine. I just wonder whether he's best left-handed because he bombed out at Ascot, he bombed out at Kempton a few runs ago, and you look at his Irish form, it was all sort of Leopardstown, Dundalk, Navan as well. So maybe that's the angle there. And the other one I thought, although he's back in trip, is Nicholas T. I was really taken with that Northumberland Plate win last time out because, the pace held up that day, and he's come from the back to win. And the horses who has finished 2nd through 7th were always up there, and I thought it was maybe Nicholas T who you could upgrade. He won over a mile and a half here at York the time before that, when again doing well to come from off the pace. And Jim Goldie's been in fantastic form for most of the season, and although 10 furlongs is very much on the sharp side, maybe this softer ground will compensate. And sort of 18-1, 20-1, probably not one to be written off lightly. But Surrey Pride, the main play, in the hope that the ground doesn't turn heavy.
He's a nice horse, the Surrey Pride, isn't he? Do you? Sometimes he's quite easily throwing a bad run, can't he? Would you worry that he's unreliable?
I think it's just, again, because when we look at horses and their going preferences, we tend to say good or faster or good to softer or softer. We very rarely sort of look in between and look in the middle and say, well, actually, maybe he doesn't like it rattling fast. Maybe he doesn't like hot, deep mud. He just needs that sort of good to soft, something in between. And you look at his November handicap run. It was, he only finished 7th when well fancied a 7-1 shot. It was soft ground. When he bombed out at Newbury in October last year, again, it was heavy ground. He was a 2-1 favourite. So really, it's when he's got it's properly deep. Now I know we're sort of borderline territory, good to soft in places, but we'll have had Friday's racing, chance to look at the times, and see what's going on with regard to the ground, and hopefully, a bit like Qaader yesterday, it won't be as soft as the official verdict.
Anything else at York?
I think I had one. Let me just.
440 is a good race, isn't it? A good race.
Oh no, sorry. It was Chester, my only other one this week.
Anything else for you at York, Daryl? Before we move on?
In the 405, I thought 440. Sorry, I thought Moss Gill would have a good chance. Soft ground, course winner. Only 3 lengths off Potash in a num for. Worse off at the weights with Qaader, but I thought soft ground would swing things in Moss Gill's favour. I'd be quite keen to take on this Winter Power, who's really short at the head of the market. And Dakota Gold is returning from a long absence, hasn't run off the back of an absence for quite a while. So I thought Moss Gill was a fair enough price at around 5-1. In the 5:15, there's a horse called Raatea. This horse does not stay 7 furlongs, or has not stayed 7 furlongs for quite some time. Now, they entered the horse that's over 6 furlongs last week at Newcastle. Was hoping the horse was going to run there, but they didn't. They chose the 7 furlongs option and didn't see out the trip. Dropping back to 6 furlongs tomorrow. Soft ground may be questionable, but I hope they continue to go down this path if he bombs out on the soft ground tomorrow, and don't blame the trip. So keep an eye on Raatea for Julie Camacho in a 5:15.
Okay, anything anywhere else for you, Daryl?
No, that's it, I'm afraid.
Back to Andrew then for his anything from anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm just going to do Chester for the 250 and Fizzy Feet. David Loughnane horse who's really good in very small fields. 8 8 from 20 in fields of 9 or fewer runners, 6 from 13 in fields of 7 or less. Looks to be the pace angle in this race coming out of stall 2 of 5. Has been to Chester 3 times and bombed out every time, but has never had a draw. Was drawn 5 of 6, 7 of 8 and 9 of 14. Plus, she's only had easy ground on turf on one occasion, good to soft ground at Windsor, and she won. Every other run on turf has been good or faster ground or poorly drawn. So although she's more of an all-weather performer, I think that's just down to not having had favourable conditions, small field, good draw, and slow ground. So she gets all that on Saturday, and I think I'll probably make her the nap of the week. Actually, nap of the day, nap of this video.
Okay, busy feet then. Naps. I mean, mine's not kind in the 4:05.
Samoot is on fire. Samoot 205 Newmarket will win.
Andrew.
Yeah, Fizzy feet 250 Chester, please.
Okay, from all over the place then. Loads of meetings this weekend. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we can give you some more winners. Do check out all of the guys' personal social medias as well as the GG social outlets and the website GG.CO.UK. All the race cards and more videos are on there as well. Thanks to you for always watching, and hopefully we'll give you plenty of winners this week.